Rahul Garabadu.
Good afternoon. My name is Rahul Garabadu. I'm the voting rights staff attorney at the ACLU of Georgia and a former Cobb County voter. I spoke at this meeting last month regarding the board's motion to reconsider moving the Cooper 1 polling location from Cooper Middle School to the Cobb County Police Academy. I'm here today to urge the board to move Cooper 1 polling location outside of the police academy for many of the same reasons articulated by a majority of this board just a month ago. First, moving the polling location to a police academy will deter voters of color, especially black voters, from casting a ballot. And you don't have to take our word for that. Many of the members of this board spoke at the last meeting to note that they had heard concerns from citizens about moving Cooper 1 from a middle school to a police academy. During these public comments last month, you heard from a black voter who would be affected by this change, who spoke about his concerns and how he felt intimidated by the fact that the voting location was being moved to a police academy. And none of that means that we are impugning the wonderful work that the Cobb County Police Academy, that the police department does. We're just asking you to take into account the history that black voters in particular have faced when voting in the past, and to account for that context. Now, last month I also mentioned that this move could be unlawful under Section 11B of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Now, I mentioned at the last meeting that Section 11B, it sweeps broadly as a statute, and that's by design. It prohibits any attempt to intimidate, threaten, or coerce any person from voting or attempting to vote, because Congress wanted to ensure that voter intimidations in all of its forms were uprooted completely. Now, finally, last month we talked a little bit about how Cooper 1 was being moved 3.2 miles away from where it was located now. Now, we mentioned that in and of itself might create voter confusion. And while 3.2 miles may not seem like a lot to us, it matters for folks who are traveling to vote via public transportation and who might go to the wrong precinct and end up at the wrong place. Add in the effects of SB 202 and redistricting that are coming down the pipeline, and that could confuse voters. Now, I also wanted to address some of the arguments made at today's comments. Some folks today have equated voting at a police academy to voting at a church. And it's just not the same. Under Section 11B of the Voting Rights Act, you have to look at the context, at all the facts surrounding what exactly is being done to understand whether a violation has taken place. And if you look at the facts here, if you look at the fact that we are dealing with a majority-minority precinct here, if you look at the history and the circumstances, especially of black voters, then that makes this much more of a salient issue than voting at a church. Now, another argument made today is that there are police officers who patrol other polling locations. We don't contest that. The difference here is that voters who look at their My Voter page and see where their polling location is will see that they have to report to Cobb County Police Academy to vote. They're not going to have any of the pictures that we saw in this presentation today. They're not going to have any of the context to know what it actually looks like before going and voting. And that makes a difference. And that's something really important to note, what the mind of a voter is going to process as they hear that they have to vote at a police academy. Now, some access issues have been mentioned today, and it's important to make sure that whatever polling location is used is accessible, but it does not justify creating one violation to substitute another violation. Now, we have about 6 months up until the next election that'll take place. That's time that can be used to fix these issues, to make sure that the precinct that's being used complies with the ADA, that it complies with the Voting Rights Act, and that it's accessible to all voters. And the board should consider that when making its decision today. For all these reasons, we urge you to move the Cooper 1 polling location out of the police academy. Thank you.